What's going on, Jets fans? It is episode 55 of the Jets Today live stream show. And I was just talking to you, James, about it. It feels like it's been an eternity since we did this. And we're very, very happy to be back. And I don't know if you heard the news. My voice, it was on the kaput or the fritz, whatever you want to call it. I could not talk for a
Oh, really?
yeah, it's just now back. And my voice still cracks every once in a while, like I'm going through puberty again. But I'm very, very glad to be back with you, man. How is everything going? And, any thoughts that are just ripping off the top of your head as we get this thing kicked off? And again, before I let you do that, sorry, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's already, tuning in right now. Really appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, check out the content and consider subscribing to the channel. James, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, man, I feel good. Feel good. Actually, just got over COVID too. I don't know if I told you that. So we're kind of in the
No.
same boat. That was not fun. So it actually kind of worked out that we didn't do it last week because I was in rough shape for about 3 days or so. But feeling good now, and a pretty exciting stuff going on in Jets world here. We don't have to worry about any first round pick holdouts in come training camp, so that's pretty exciting that they were able to get these guys signed in pretty quick fashion, and OTAs coming in, a lot of buzz around Zach and what he's looking like and what he's going to be doing this summer before training camp. So a lot of exciting stuff, and pretty excited to be back here talking to you.
Awesome. Yeah, man. The fact that we don't have any first round pick holdout drama is such a nice breath of fresh air. And everybody was joking about it. No offset language drama. Like all of that stuff is maybe a thing of the past. Wouldn't that be nice if, oh, you son of a gun, James. He's James DiPietro. Sorry. he says he's in Myrtle Beach right now. That's awesome. I hope you're vacationing. But anyway, yeah, man, I'm just so happy with how Joe Douglas has done this off season. I made a video a week or so ago covering just everything that he's done this off season, and I'm not trying to like sit here and suggest that it's always been perfect with Joe Douglas, and it never is with any GM. But I just feel like he's done such a masterful job of managing literally like every step of the way, and I keep saying to myself, it feels like Joe Douglas legitimately has just improved every single year as the general manager. What are your thoughts on that as far as like him, adapting and improving like year to year? It feels like that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, no, and you look at the 2020 draft was his first draft, right? And you do go back to like the circumstances around it, not to make like excuses. I know we're Jeff fans and stuff like that, but you look at that 2020 draft and there were no in-person type of meetings. Everything was, they were drafting from their houses. They were all virtual, trying to figure this whole thing out. Roger Goodell was in his basement. And I think that did make things a lot more difficult in terms of their ability to scout and do certain things. And also you bring in that he was drafting for a regime that is not here anymore, right? A coaching staff that's not here anymore. So, there were differences of opinions potentially, or, maybe not seeing eye to eye on what they wanted to do. And I think Salah's really helped Douglas too, in terms of they really do seem like they're on the same page in terms of what they want this roster to look like and what kind of players they want to bring in. So he's gotten better every single year. I mean, the 2021 draft, we know how much we like that. And then if it's any indication what this 2022 class is going to be like, it's just going to put the icing on the cake for his first two classes, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the story is not written. I know you're not necessarily suggesting that, but the 2020 draft class, the story is yet to be written. Players improve year to year, and sometimes it happens. Guys just kind of pop out of nowhere. They just kind of catch, they figure it all out. And I still have hope and optimism for guys that we'll be talking about them, because I have a segment later. Guys that I think could make a leap and could improve, especially from that 2020 class. All right. This will be one of the first topics of the night. And this is from Sean McAteer. Thanks for putting this in the comments. I was hoping somebody would, and I figured they would. Did anyone hear Stephen A. Smith trash us? He says that guy doesn't even know basketball. How is he talking about football? What a clown! Did you catch it, James? The smash fest from him.
Yeah, I caught pieces of it. I kind of just turned it off because I like Stephen A. Smith. Like I have nothing like really against him. I mean, I try to stay away from like those big ESPN mainstream media type of shows because I do think they have their biases in certain areas, and I think for us as Jet fans, like that mainstream media, not just singling Stephen A. Smith out, but also putting him in this category here is like we're just the bottom dwellers. We'll always be until we win a playoff game. Whatever we do in the offseason, despite how good we might think it is, they're never going to think it's good until until it shows up. They're just going to kind of consider us to be nothing, until certain things change, which is fine, I guess. Ultimately, we haven't won anything, but yeah, Stephen A. Smith, and I think I don't know if I heard it right, but like I think he talked about our wide receiver core in terms of like Mims and company, which is like nothing against Denzel Mims, but it's like really weird to put him like at the top. Like the draft was a month ago. You could at least put Garrett Wilson at the top. We took him 10th overall, but
Right.
yeah, so it just seems like they just talk based on past history, not exactly what the Jets might be doing to improve in the current state.
Yes. All good points by you there. Specifically the wide receiver thing, that one struck a lot of people odd. I think. Like, did you really do your homework here, Stephen A. Before this segment, or were you just kind of hoping to breeze through the Jets? Like, you got to do your homework, or else people aren't going to take it seriously, especially Jets fans, because they know better than that. There's a number of weapons on this offense. People are
Mhm.
just ripping him to shreds right now in the comments. I'll say this: the part that he mentioned where he just wants to see the team do something before them making any proclamations, which we haven't really done. The players haven't really done any of that. But he said that he had met a player, or he had like encountered a player recently, and basically that guy who he wouldn't reveal, he had said like, we're coming, right? Like we're gonna be doing a lot better this football season. Like, what's the guy supposed to say? Like, I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
I think it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah, pretty clown like, and I don't like you said, I don't actually dislike Stephen A. I think that he is overall a pretty good guy, but he should sharpen his takes a little bit better, I would say, if he's going to go full nuke mode and like completely destroy the entire organization. So, all right, let's keep it going here. I got a couple of mailbags, and they are off-season flavors for sure. Here's one from Sergeant Mike, and I'll probably need to make it a little bigger. This is a long one, so I'm gonna read it, and it's pretty pretty specific what he's asking. So he says, I always wanted to ask a Jets quarterback, if the field is green and the Jets receivers are wearing green, does that make it hard to see our receivers? Although conversely, our cornerbacks should be invisible to opposing quarterbacks, so they should be more effective. But that has not been the case in my lifetime. And he's talking a little bit about the jerseys and liking them. I think he's mostly kidding. You played, James.
Yeah.
You played football in college. Can you speak to maybe a jersey or even just like a player not being easily visible because of the grass and the uniform?
Yeah, no, I don't think I don't really think the two have any relation in terms of like a green jersey. I mean, I've never worn a green jersey before. I mean, I've played a team in green, but I can't say it had any kind of effect on me because the grass was green.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, I mean, it is interesting. Like you think about the teams that have like red turf or blue turf. I think that might be different just because you're not accustomed to seeing like a red or blue, like
Yeah.
I guess floor essentially,
Yeah.
a ground. But I think you're just so accustomed to the fact that grass has always been green, turf has really always been green, that it doesn't take up too much of your focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sergeant Mike. Again, I
Good
think
point
he
though.
was. I think he was mostly kidding. B2B, hello all. Thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate you leaving a comment. And there's been a lot of comments already. A lot of people reminding you to hit the like button. So I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. hit the like button, support the channel, support the content. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. Here's another one, and it's right to the point, which I love. It's from Nick on Twitter, and he says, should the Jets trade for Dion Jones? There is a lot of speculation and reporting that this thing may not last very much longer for Dion Jones and the Atlanta Falcons. He is a hyper athletic linebacker, a big time playmaker, in my opinion. What are your thoughts? Should the Jets make a move for Dion Jones? You have to imagine they would want draft capital back. I don't have his age off the top of my head. I'll pull that up while you're talking, though. What are your thoughts on potentially trading for Dion Jones?
Yeah, he's 27. He's 27. He'll be 28 in November. I think it was November. He'll be 28. So he's still a relatively young player. Trade wise, it's definitely going to take draft capital. I would probably go on the lower end only because he did sign a 4-year contract not that long ago, 2019 maybe it was, for about, I think it might have been like a 4 for 54, 55 type of deal. So he's got a relatively decent contract that we'd have to take on at least a couple more years. I think I'd probably be more inclined to just see if they say, hey, they designate him as like a post June 1st cut or whatever that might be to help them with their cap situation. And then he's out on the market. And then you really kind of worry about, all right, well, we got Ulbrich here that he was in Atlanta with. Dallas has Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's in Dallas there. Two guys that he had his best years with. Those first 2, 3, 4 years or whatever it was for Dion Jones. I mean, he was a guy that I remember going back to the draft chart the year that he was taken, because I don't know if it was his rookie year that they played in the Super Bowl, but he was on the all rookie team as a rookie, and then I think he was a Pro Bowler his second year. Maybe they played in the Super Bowl that his second or third year, and we took Christian Hackenberg. I think it was like just a few picks before him, and I was like, oh my god, like we can't do nothing right. But it's a weird one because I want more linebackers, right? Like I want more linebackers, and everything I'm reading about Dion Jones, because I can't say I've watched Falcons film over the last couple of years, but everything they're indicating is he's on like a little bit of a decline. He was once this sideline to sideline player. He has 11 interceptions in his career, which I think mostly came in those first 2 or 3 years. 1 year, I think he even had like 12 or 13 pass breakups, which is pretty impressive for a linebacker. A ton of tackles, 1 year under 100 tackles, combined tackles, which is pretty good. So he's around the football. I think for the Jets, it would be something where, like, what's the risk? Like what's what he just doesn't work out in a linebacker room where we don't have someone who could potentially work out anyway. But if it doesn't happen, I feel like it's not going to be a move where I'm like not going to lose sleep over it, where they clearly have a plan and then we'll address it in some other form or fashion. That's not Dion Jones.
All really, really good information and good stuff by you. I'll say this. I think that we certainly have the need, as you alluded to. We do have a need at linebacker. Certainly would not give up a whole lot. I wouldn't give up early draft picks. Excuse me. And if there's even a chance that the Jets suspect that if he just sits there and nobody bites, at the opportunity, and if he's a potential June cut, like a June casualty, then you're like, why the hell wouldn't you look to go ahead and add him? And I think that would be the ideal scenario for the Jets, not having to give up capital. We don't have the treasure trove of draft picks that we've had in the last couple of years. And so we have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to give away all of your picks, especially for a guy that you mentioned, and I believe Danny Marino mentioned in the chat as well. He's on the decline. He's 27, 28 years old, and I would much rather just take the swing if he becomes available, if he shakes free. That would be my preferred method. And that's not to say that I wouldn't be willing to trade for another player and give up an asset of high value It would just need to be the right deal, which is, that's going to always be Joe Douglas's kind of approach to it. And I think that's that's the right way. Don't jump at the first opportunity, jump at the right opportunity. So,
Right.
all right, let's see here. Sean McAteer, he says, I'd rather wait for Jesse Bates to sit and offer a trade for him. Might not happen. That is the other thing, is their talk is that Jesse Bates he's gonna refuse to play under the tag. A lot of guys say that, though. I will mention that, like, a lot of guys will threaten that they're not going to play, and then they ultimately do. I'm not saying it's the same scenario, but like Aaron Rodgers is like kind of like saying he's never going to play for the Packers again. All that drama, saying it was the last dance. He and Devontae Adams. I don't know if you remember that in the offseason.
Yep.
So could that be an option? Yeah, I mean, possibly. Anything's possible in the regards to player movement. Jesse Bates certainly would fit the mold of, if he were available, that would be a guy that you would be willing to shell out, obviously, more assets because he's younger and he plays a position, again, that we could really, really use, free safety. We'll see, though. I would suspect that he's probably just, threatening, and his agent probably suggested that as well, I would imagine, too. Eventually, I would imagine he'll be back with the Bengals and practicing and doing all of these things. All right, let's see here. At work, had to pop in. Go Jets. Emanon, really appreciate that. Emanon is on Instagram, and we were talking about how our children are growing up fast. He's got a teenager. I've got my little girl who's now 4 years old, which is impossible. Rick Fisher says, your poll was a toss-up to me. Yeah, so I did include the other option. I know it's hard because with YouTube, they only give you 4 options for any poll. You can't do more, which really sucks. I would love to have, a poll be like 6, 7 options. We'll talk about team MVP, later on in the show. That'll be one of the segments we do. B2B, he says, unless the Dion Jones coming from Atlanta, his last name Sanders, let's stay put. That's pretty funny. Okay, and send him Mims. No, we're not sending Mims. We're not sending Mims. Is that what you're saying? I don't know if that's what you're saying. I don't want Mims going anywhere. I think you got to keep him on the roster for at least one more go around. Michael Carter. Interesting. Team MVP Michael Carter. I don't know about that one. That's interesting. What do you say about that? Michael Carter being team MVP.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, that would mean that he had a monster year. So,
right. Yes.
That's I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. And it's just going to be a matter of touches, right? And that same goes for Breece Hall there. It's just a matter of, I don't want to sound like we have some kind of offensive juggernaut yet, but there is going to be a factor of you got to feed certain people. How often are you going to have the ball? You got to feed these mouths. Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, the 2 tight end or the 3 tight ends you now have. Elijah Moore obviously is the big one. Breece Hall, Michael Carter. So you're looking at a lot of guys to get the football. But so I think it would come down to a matter of touches for him. But if he winds up the lead back, then listen, I would take a Michael Carter being a team MVP there.
Yeah, that would be incredible. So I'm not saying that is a likely scenario, but if like you said, if that happens, something went really good for Michael Carter, and I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that at all. Let's see here. I have a very interesting question here, and we have one more mailbag we'll do after this. B2B again, and he says, what does a Quinnen Williams excellent season look like? Love this question. Great question. We will discuss this right now. So first of all, I'm going to start because I don't typically start stuff. I loved his freaking answer the other day. And, it would be so easy for him to say something other than what he did. And if you didn't catch it, Quinnen Williams was interviewed. I think it was post an OTA practice. And he basically said, look, he's like, the money's going to take care of itself. And he says, right now, my job is to earn the money and like to basically take a next step and become a player on this defense. And I love the leadership that exudes, like, the mentality of, not only him, but hopefully younger players around him hear that message. Like that's a very, very, very strong message, especially, given like the typical athlete. Like they're all trying to cash in, and Quinnen Williams definitely is
Mhm.
trying to cash in, no doubt about it. But he's got this mindset that he's focused on football and he's all ball right now. And I love, love, love it. What are your thoughts on his, the message that he put out there, which again, I think is a very strong message. And also, what does a excellent season for Quinnen Williams look like?
Yeah, no, it's kind of refreshing in a way. I mean, listen, like all these guys, they play a pretty dangerous sport that could be taken away from them pretty quickly. And so they really, I mean, they obviously have every right to try to get as much money as they possibly can when they can. And so it's just kind of refreshing to hear a guy who's just really focused on himself, because in the end, I mean, not trying to be like philosophical or anything here, but if you worry about the play and the play takes care of itself, I mean, he's going to wind up with a monster payday. So they're tied together. So if he's got that mindset that, listen, as long as I play well, I'll worry about the money when the time is up. I mean, he's gonna make a good amount of money on that 5th-year option next year, and if he has a monster year, they're gonna get a deal done probably before that even happens in some form of an extension. So, was it a great season, good season, great season from Quinnen Williams?
He said what would be an excellent season for him.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, if he can get to that 10 sack number, and not to say like that's like some kind of milestone really, but he's been so close, but hasn't really played a full year. So if he can play a full year and hover around that 10 and a half sack mark, playing from the inside like that, I mean, that would just be a monster, a monster year for him. And he may have the potential to go higher than that. We don't really know where he's fully at. We wanted to see him next to the Carl Lawson. Now he's got Jermaine Johnson on the other side. So, if he can play with that edge rusher there who, could potentially just pull the quarterback up, right? You set that edge, have the quarterback step up in the pocket, and he steps up in the pocket right into the arms of Quinnen Williams. I think that's where the sack numbers for him are going to come. But as long as he's creating pressure, the sack numbers are going to come. And he has the ability, in my opinion, he could take over a football game if he chooses to do so. And so if he's playing at a high level, I think we'll see those sack numbers raise up to that 10 and a half number.
Yep. I'll throw in there with what you said, freeing him up a little bit. I think that Quinnen Williams faces a fair number of double teams, especially when Carl Lawson went down. With Carl Lawson, if he's able to bounce back and contribute on the edge, which I expect he will, uh, that's going to help Quinnen Williams a hell of a lot. They are going to be a little bit more restricted on being able to double team him. And so you give him more opportunities, one-on-one opportunities. I think Quinnen Williams can win a lot of one-on-one matchups, and the sack numbers certainly are going to be that catalyst from going from a good season to an excellent season. So I guess if you throw in another 8.5, 10 sack season for Quinnen Williams, I think that's a really, really good season for him. And there really aren't a lot of defensive tackles doing that in the National Football League. I think people sometimes compare him to Aaron Donald, and they think about the fact that he was drafted 3rd overall, so he should be, he should be stockpiling sacks at a clip similar to that. It's just not a thing that happens in the NFL. Aaron Donald is not human. He is a freak of nature, and I expect him to create chaos in the middle, and I think that's what the Jets are going to have for expectations for him. So if he does that, I think that we now have an excellent season out of him. Those are my thoughts on it. A couple more comments here from a couple people. DJ Reed as an MVP. He's starting to catch a lot of buzz about him being a guy that. And I said it, I think, in a video. I don't think I paid enough attention in the pre-free agency period. He was like one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL last year. So that makes a lot of sense to throw his name in there, Vern. And then, of course, Breece Hall has got to be mentioned. Not necessarily as team MVP, but maybe. You never know. He'd have to have a really, really good season to do that, though, I would say. Let's see. We've got another question. Let's go ahead and let's read this one, and then we'll do the final mailbag, and then we'll start talking some topics. Excuse me. If you guys haven't hit the like button, go ahead and do that right now. Anybody new watching this, go ahead and subscribe. I hope you check out the content as well. This is from Jay Perez. He says, "Are the collection of tools that Zach has comparable in type, not quality, to what Aaron Rodgers has in Green Bay? Is that the plan, to run that type of play sequence?" Thank you, Jay Perez, because I'm starting to now see the vision that the Jets have. I 100% believe that they are trying to mirror specifically the running game. I feel like they want to have a true 1A and a true 1B, both running backs getting involved in the running game, but also in the passing game. Aaron Jones for the Packers. They had Jamal Williams, who had a lot of touches for that offense. He was not just a third down back. He was a part of their, first, second down, third down offense. And then now recently they had the kid from Boston College, the big guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon, right. So I think the Jets do want to run something similar to that. What are your thoughts on the, I guess he's saying the play sequence, so maybe kind of like how they shuffle in, personnel and play calling specifically. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they both offenses sort of come from the same tree. In a sense, obviously with the LaFleurs there, they come from that Shanahan tree. So schematically, things are relatively similar. I think sometimes I guess we get caught up in where things come from in terms of coaching trees and things. Yeah, the overall concepts are decently similar, but everyone's got their own touch to it, and it depends on your personnel, right? I mean, that Shanahan offense in San Francisco, it looks a whole lot different the way the Packers run it, because one team has Aaron Rodgers and the other team has Jimmy Garoppolo. So, and now with the Jets there, you got Zach Wilson, who they're trying to groom into a quarterback, into an elite level quarterback that he obviously has the skills to be, but they're trying to kind of make their own little touch on the offense here, and they obviously want to run the ball a whole lot. So with those AJ Dillons, I mean, I don't know if we have anyone like AJ Dillon really, given just the sheer size of him. But I guess you can kind of liken the skills of an Aaron Jones and a Michael Carter, a little shorter, quick twitch, tough to break down, good in open space there. Breece Hall is a little bit of a bruiser, but he's not like an AJ Dillon type of level bruiser there. But yeah, I would say they're relatively similar in terms of what they're looking to do, and how they're looking to build both of those offenses there.
Good stuff. Yeah, I hope that we feature the running backs a lot this season, and I think that I'm not saying I'm skeptical of Zach Wilson in any way, shape, or form, but I would really like the offenses, and we're gonna talk about identities later on in the show, but I would love for that to be a part of it. Not necessarily saying ground and pound like Rex Ryan, but get the running game to be strong. That really sets everything up for the offense, I feel. Grant Rude, hey everyone. Hope this glorious Wednesday has been a good one. Thanks for checking in, Grant. Really appreciate that. And Sauce Planet, Budster, according to Rich Eisen. I haven't heard that one. Sauce Planet. What is that?
I don't know.
I believe you. I'm sure Rich Eisen said that he was pounding that table for Sauce Gardner. Maybe he was watching our show. Maybe he was listening to you, James. Who knows? All right, let's go to another mailbag here. This will be the final one of the show. And guys, as I say every week on that last mailbag, I do the mailbag every time we're going to go live. So on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Not on Facebook. Maybe I should start doing it on Facebook, though. YouTube community page. I leave a mailbag, and I want you guys to load up your questions and your comments, because that's going to be, continue to be the way we start every single show, is what you guys want to talk about. So this is from Aaron, and I love this because it's that off-season vibe. He says, who would sign a petition to get the old unis back? And I assume he means the more recent ones where it was Sam Darnold. I miss those crispy white janks. What are your thoughts on not necessarily the old ones, the last ones, but would you be willing to get the picket fence or the picket the signs out and petition against the current uniforms?
Um, that's a tough one because they've grown on me. Like I love our all whites that we have, and I love the black uniforms. My only gripe was I thought they could have done a whole heck of a lot better. That's the only thing, given like what some of these uniforms look like now, and you have such an advantage with like the name Jets, right? Like you have so many options of logos, how you can do certain things. I just thought they could have done a better job, but I don't have a problem with what they wear right now.
Yeah, and I'll just add my 2 cents, short and sweet here. I don't like the logo. The logo to me is so boring.
Yeah.
I like the colors. We have great colors. You mentioned the black. I like the white. I mean, the spotlight white is great. The Gotham green is excellent. I have my Wayne Corbett jersey on, but this like forest green or whatever you want to call this doesn't really feel like Jets. Like to me, the
Yeah.
Jets color is something in between a dark green and the Kelly green that they had. I like the bright colors. So yeah, if that would be my biggest gripe is the logo. And you mentioned the jet. Why is there
Yeah.
no
I
representation
know,
of
dude.
that? Like that would look so sick. It would be so sweet.
Mhm.
And again, you picture us wearing our all black uniforms and having, even if it was just the jet stream, that would be enough for me, man. I think that logo is beautiful. It's literally, one of the logos on this channel. I love the jet stream. I think it just looks really, really
Yeah.
crispy and really, really good. I like this comment from Matthew Smith, but I'm going to read this one first. If we beat the Ravens on the home opener, I think this will set the tone for the rest of the league that we are wanting respect. That is a massive game, and it's going to be really hard to win that one. I will be going to
Mhm.
that football game. Um,
Me too.
you are going. You're going. You're
Hmm.
going. Oh, it's
Yep.
time. We have to have our official meet and greet. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of the case with a lot of people. Uh, we will have to crack a beer open and drink it together.
Yep. For sure.
Thoughts on that game being a tone setter again in the scenario that the Jets win that football game?
Yeah, listen, that's a momentum builder. I don't know how much it would do across the league, right? I mean, week one, but I think more so for the Jets momentum building wise, they can get off to a hot start, finally win a game in September, and it's against a team that ultimately, yeah. So I saw this comment before
This is
having to talk about
hilarious.
it. But they I mean, it's a team in the Ravens that I mean, they're going to be really, really good. And if it's not right away, they're going to wind up really good towards the middle to the end of the year. If Lamar needs some time to kind of get back into the swing of things, but um, I think Peter King. I think it was Peter King. He just came out with his rankings. I think the Ravens were the eighth overall team that he had in his power ranking. So this is a top 10 team that's coming for opening day, and I think it would do more so for the Jets momentum wise if they can win. You go into week two and the rest of this year just confident that you can do it, right?
That
So
is exactly it right there. I'm glad you mentioned that at the end of it. They have to almost overcome this idea that they can't compete with top teams. And I know that they won some games versus the Titans and the Bengals. Obviously, those are top teams. But it would be great to start the year that way. Do you know what I mean?
right.
Not after we have a losing record, not after we had not a very good September. Um, there are going to be a lot of people at that game. I see Buffalo Jet fan left us a super chat. He
Nice.
says, "I'm going to be there. I'm going to put that on the screen in 2 seconds. I just got to find it." I can't wait, man. I'm looking forward to just like bro fiving all of you and just having an awesome time. Like that's what it's all about, man. Meeting and hanging out with each other. It's gonna be a pretty outstanding experience for sure. The crazy biggin, he says, I just jumped over to YouTube from Facebook. I really appreciate you coming over from Facebook. Really appreciate that. it means that we're streaming. We're multicast. What is it? Simulcasting? Yeah, we're simulcasting. So appreciate that. And he says we need to bring back the all white 68 unis. I love the Kelly green that they rocked in the 60s, and I also really like the 80s uniforms as well. The logo, we talked about it already. They are unbelievable. I think it's just so simple, but also very, very powerful looking as well. Cannot wait, Buffalo Jet fan. I hope we're able to communicate and get that meetup going, man. Bro fiving. Yeah. She knows what I'm talking about. Bro fiving. I mean, you just, what's up, bro? You're just fired up. Yeah. I do like the stealth black as well. All right. All right, sorry, one last comment. Vern says Ravens defense, excuse me, started really slow last season. They had a billion injuries, and I'm not saying that that's the reason for it. I mean, you have to overcome your injuries at some point, but that could be part of the equation there.
Their secondary is absurd.
Yes, that's something that I keep. No, you're good. I keep hearing that on Twitter. Actually, I had a tweet that I sent out that got Ravens fans real twisted, talking about their receivers and how, if we can match up one-on-one, we should be able to stack up and stop the run. And it blew up. But anyway, now I all I see on Twitter is Ravens tweets, because I guess there's like some sort of algorithm now where I only read those. But anyway, Ravens fans were pretty fired up about it, and they've been talking about their secondary. It is pretty daggone good. We're gonna need to run the football week 1, no doubt, effectively, I should say as well. The upset one, he says 2-0 versus the Pats. 1-1 versus the Bills, 2-0 versus Miami. If that happens, we're in the playoffs. I feel it's unlikely that that's to happen. I love your enthusiasm. I think give me 2 or 3 in the AFC East. That would be a pretty good improvement. But I like that you have your sights set higher than mine. All right, let's go into our first topic of the night. And again, thank you guys for all of the mailbag, and also for all of the interesting questions you guys are throwing out there. It is the slower part of the entire calendar year for football. So we're going to be relying on you guys to keep it spicy sometimes. You guys have to throw in your interesting thoughts and takes. We got some OTAs. We'll just talk briefly about it. I didn't actually have this in the description, James, so you don't need to go crazy here, but anything that you heard from the OTAs, or players specifically. We mentioned Quinnen Williams earlier. Anything that you read or saw that stood out to you regarding OTAs?
Yeah, it seemed like Sauce caught on pretty quick. So that was good. I think he made a play on Garrett Wilson. I don't know if it was Elijah Moore, but I think he made a play in the red zone, and then a play on Garrett Wilson that seemed to stick out to whoever was there. I don't know if we have any videos or anything like that, or that I saw anyway, but I'd probably say outside of Sauce there, that was good too, because really at this point, like linemen and the front 7 defensive linemen, it's really hard to kind of gauge anything. They're doing mostly and stuff, but hey, if you get those wide receiver matchups, I know they're only in helmets and stuff, but at least if you could get those wide receiver cornerback matchups and things of that nature, it's pretty good. And listen, Zach put on some weight. Yeah, someone just Zach put on 13 pounds or so. I mean, listen, he was a young, like, we forget like how young these guys actually are when they get drafted into the league. He mentioned that he worked more on his nutrition this time around. It was more so like, he always mentioned it was more so just lifting and then eating whatever, trying to eat healthy, but, not really more so worried about macros and the carbs and the fat and the protein, etc. So he's got someone to help him out with that. He looks good. Kind of curious how he actually plays, if he stays at that weight when he plays, or is he going to try to drop just a couple, maybe come game time, just to be a little bit more comfortable in his body. So I'd probably say Zach and his physique is probably one of the bigger things, and it looked like Sauce at least belongs for now. So both good signs.
Yeah, I can talk specifically about the macros part. I think I've mentioned it before. Before I became an old man, I was in really good shape about 2 or 3 years ago, like really good, the best shape of my life. And I was huge into the nutrition side. And when I was in college, this was before I actually got in good shape. I used to lift like a monster. I would lift as much as I could, and I would have limited gains. Like truly, that is what would happen. Like I would go and I'd lift for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and I would get results. I would get stronger and I would get bigger, but it was
Mhm.
limited. More than you would expect more results from the amount of work that I was putting in. And then when I did it, years later after reading more and learning more, the nutrition side of it, if you guys aren't into the weightlifting thing, it's an enormous part of getting the not only the muscle growth but like the strength, like all of that stuff. You have to feed your body for your body to be able to produce in the weight room specifically, and clearly that has worked for him. I hope he's eating his I hope he's eating his sweet potatoes. That was one of my go-to sweet potatoes. Getting those healthy, those really, really good clean carbs. But it seems like it's working whatever he's eating. So I say keep eating, Zach, and keep lifting those weights because he looks great. And I did read the same thing that, Sauce Gardner looked sticky in coverage and that Zach does plan to drop a few pounds before the season begins. Yes, Kev Chata, I am pretty much over the hill now. It's pretty much done for me, buddy.
Michelle confirmed as well, I think.
Oh, she did. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Way over the hill. Wonderful. Yeah, no, it's a fact. I no, I did not. I did not. I was clean living, man. I promise. I ate like a beast. I was eating like 3 meals before dinner. It was like a lot of food to get pretty good gains. So maybe one day I'll be brave and I'll show you all my my physique at the time. All right. That's a weird conversation. So let's move on from it. OTAs, everything looks good. And
Yeah.
everybody's healthy at the moment, too, which is great as well. We talked, I think, a little bit about the Jets schedule. We don't need to go crazy here. Any thoughts on the schedule? Just like the AFC North to start the season is so weird to me.
Yeah.
Anything that stands out to you, though, like tough spots where we can make some headway as far as a win loss. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if they can survive this first, what's it, 9 or so weeks
Yeah, 9. It's 9.
um, about 9 weeks there, because the end of the year, I mean, you can pull off. You got the Lions, the Jags, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins to end the season. So if you could find out a way to get on track from the beginning and keep yourself in the race, you're going to have the last 4 weeks of the year to potentially pull off 4 wins, and I don't think that's an exaggeration when you're looking at the Lions, the Jaguars, the Seahawks, and then ending with the Dolphins. They could realistically put themselves in a spot where they're playing the Dolphins for, potentially maybe getting into a wild card at that point, if they go forward with being able to survive this beginning of the year. Because I mean, you look at it, the Steelers, yeah, and you're right. To start off with the AFC North, it almost feels like they forgot about us and they were like, "Oh crap, we have to give games
That
to the
is what it
Jets," right?
feels like. Yeah.
It's very weird. And so, you know what? You see the Steelers on the schedule, and yeah, sure, you worry about TJ Watt, but, is Kenny Pickett playing quarterback for them? If possible, then listen, that's a game that you got to try to win there. And so you think about Big Ben and you think about Le'Veon Bell and you think about, Antonio
AB.
Brown, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
when you see that Steeler, it's not fully out of our head yet. And because they've been so good under Mike Tomlin, it's a game where I don't think it's out of the question that you can steal it. I mean, if Mike White can beat the Bengals team that went to the Super Bowl, this team should be able to compete with, you don't know what these rosters are going to look like by the time you play them, who's going to be there, who's hurt, who survives, training camp, etc. Who gets cut, who, traded wise, who do we add? So, I wouldn't put it past them, to be able to handle some of these games that people think that we're just going to get thrown by the wayside in. So, it's going to be tough, but if they can set themselves up in the beginning of the year, those last 4 weeks, we could be, finally in a position that we want to be in.
Yes. All really good stuff by you. This is why I have you on the show because you have good stuff to say. I wanted to get to a few comments and I lost my comment like a total jerk. Where did it go? Uh, Shoot. Where'd it go? Here. Wait. No. Where? I can't find it. Crap. I'll have to look for it in a second. I was just gonna throw in there that the you said mentioning like surviving the first 9 games, and what you mean by that, I think personally, when you say that is don't go 2-7, don't go 1-8. If you can get into that 3, 4, 5 win category, specifically 5, holy crap, you
Yeah.
would be really setting the table up for a run there to truly make a postseason run. Um, but yeah, 3 or 4 wins is in my book surviving that first 9 games on the schedule, and then you just kind of have to hope that they can put lightning in a bottle and really catch fire here at the end of the season. It was from Boozer32. Here it is. Jeez, Louise. Thank you for submitting this question. He says, looking forward to JD possibly picking up a few more free agents. Defensive tackle Hakeem Nicks, Sheldon Richardson, KJ Wright. What do you guys think? There's some other names too. Quan Alexander's still sitting out there. Ogunjobi, the defensive tackle from he was the Bears more recently. What are your thoughts on potential moves? I mean, I think they should look to, add a few guys. I just don't know if it's going to happen until
Yeah.
till like later in the summer. Thomas Cahill, thank you for becoming a member of Jets Today. Really appreciate that support. What are your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, no, I was really intrigued with the Ogunjobi interest there. I would be pretty happy if they added him to this defensive line, because I do think, again, we talked about a lot, that interior, the defensive line, I think we can add a piece to it. And KJ Wright, he's not signed anywhere.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Who's the I don't know, I may be just confusing them, but there was who the Seahawks, that linebacker they just let go, just went to
That
the Rams.
was yeah. That's shoot.
What?
Wagner,
What's his
Bobby
name?
Wagner.
Oh, Bobby Wagner. I don't know why I'm mixing them up, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, if they, I think, like, overall, I'll kind of make this a quick point here. I don't see the issue anymore with adding, guys who may be just a little bit older at this point. Like,
Sure.
they're still like really young, and they still have some holes everywhere. So I mean, if you can get a guy like KJ Wright into the locker room and have him with a CJ Mosley, yeah, is he going to be the KJ Wright from the Seahawks that was a part of that defense? Maybe not on the field, but he's a guy that you're adding to the locker room, and I think it's important for the Jets to make sure they have the right guys in the locker room that are leading the young guys. So yeah, I wouldn't mind with some free agency signings, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to come right away. I think it's going to be something that we're going to have to wait for over the summer.
Yeah, what's the rush? All these NFL teams, they want to assess who the guys they have. They want to
Yeah.
know what's in the building right now, and that's what all these mini camps and OTAs are for, is being able to assess your team that's currently on the roster, and then you might make some, you might see some movement. The Morgan Moses move did not come until later on, and I'm trying to think of years back we've made some moves later in the summer, and guys are going to still become available. There will be more players available, and I think that's
Mhm.
another reason why you won't see a move, is because teams want to see who shakes free.
Yep.
So we're still a little bit of ways away from knowing who those guys are that shake free, and then also, what are the options as a whole that the Jets could potentially look, to make some headway at. Grant Root threw a comment in the comment section, excuse me, and he just said, what position does everybody want to upgrade the most? And linebacker is being repeated on a cycle. I think linebacker and safety, and I'll even throw in offensive tackle depth as well. I don't think that's one that we're going to be able to do, though, unless somebody like a Morgan Moses shakes free, but that was pretty rare. You don't typically see starting offensive tackles shake free, or at least ones that have experience. So we have like 100 people in here. Hit the like button. And again, if you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. I was in a little bit of a lull there. My voice went. I had laryngitis, could not talk. And I'll be making videos again this weekend. You guys will have content to look forward to over the next couple of days. Let's move forward and let's move on from the schedule. And we're, oh, ooh,
Ooh,
ooh.
surprise.
If y'all didn't know, we're going to do a film breakdown of Breece Hall. And James is from Jets X Factor. He's a contributor over there. And he's going to do a little film analysis of the man that we drafted, the one that I did not suspect, nor did I even really want at the time, which is now I'm embarrassed to say that because I'm very, very, very excited to have Breece Hall on this roster. And again, I see the vision that Joe Douglas had in bringing him in. Let me see if I can switch over real quick here and pause this film. Boom. So we've got myself on the screen, and I'm going to get James on here as well. Why don't you go ahead and set the stage while I get you looking pretty over here, James?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. So I got a chance to get through 2 games. So I got a total of I think it was like 6 or 7 games pretty recently of Iowa State offensive film there. So I picked out two. I kind of like to watch certain defenses and stuff like that. So the two that I picked out to watch first was Baylor and Oklahoma State. Baylor, Oklahoma State, they played each other in the Big 12 championship game, and they had quite good defenses, both of them. So I wanted to see against a level of competition that's a little bit above maybe Iowa State was this past year. Iowa State was a good football team, but Baylor and Oklahoma State were kind of the kings of the Big 12 this year. So so I looked at those 2 games. Listen, Breece, most impressive part about him is probably the combination of the patience and then the ability, once he sees it, he hits it. He's very, very quick to the hole. He sets up his blocks, and that's kind of where I want to go. These first 3 clips, and I have the sideline version and also the end zone view, because with the running backs, it's sometimes a little bit easier to go with the end zone view to see how he kind of makes it happen. So here against Baylor, this is just a split zone concept, and really the split zone. You see that wide receiver there. He's kind of, I think he's more so a tight end or maybe a fullback. He's wearing number 43, so I doubt he's very high in the wide receiver room. So he seems to be a tight end or a fullback, and what he's really basically going to do is he's going to try to get the end man on the line of scrimmage to the boundary, which is ultimately the cutback defender. So he's trying to cut that in this way. When the hole opens up for Breece on the inside, he can hit it and not have to worry about the cutback defender. Now, that tight end or slash fullback, he didn't do a very good job, in my opinion. So it ultimately left Breece to be one patient, right? He lets the hole develop, but it ultimately closes pretty quickly
Oh
given
yeah.
given the lack of the block by the tight end fullback. I'll just call him an H back, by the H back there. But what he does is he's able to get skinny, and kind of that speed to the hole allows him to kind of break free there, and then he just does the rest. He makes a guy miss there, and he kind of gets a little tug on the jersey, and that allows that safety to kind of catch up with him, safety cornerback to catch up with him. And you can see it here. That H back, he just kind of totally whiffs.
Yeah,
Um,
not a very good block. I mean, I don't know my
yeah,
stuff with blocking, but that was like a it was like a love tap he gave him basically.
Yeah, he kind of went to give him a shoulder, and
Just
you
missed.
want to kind of latch on a little bit more, because that cutback defender, he's just a defensive end, but he's most likely going to try to, just if he sees you throw a shoulder, he's just going to try to sidestep you, which he does, which it closes up the hole pretty quick. I mean, this could have potentially been a little bit easier for Breece here, but he's just so good finding the hole with his vision and then his patience to get there. And this is a pretty similar play. Now, these all 3 of these plays now, and let me preface the Baylor game for what Breece actually did in this football game. And it was, I forgot, I think he had, it was about, someone could maybe look up the stats here, but I'm going to go with these numbers here. I think he was 170-ish on the ground and 51 through the air. So he had a little over 200 yards against Baylor's defense. I mean, it was Breece. And I think it was 2 or 3 touchdowns, 1 touchdown through the air, 1 or 2 on the ground. And
He
I
definitely
didn't
scored a
include.
touchdown.
Yeah,
Because
definitely scored a touchdown because there
that's what he
wasn't
does.
many of them that he didn't. And so I really just included here 3 of what I thought were his best patient runs, just because I thought that was his best trait here. And so on this run here, it's a little bit now. I don't know how Iowa State really designates or calls these run plays. I basically just look at it and try to guess what I think what I think they're doing here. And what I think they're doing here, that's a tight end that's kind of set up as an H back. So I kind of designated as just a 2-back inside zone type of run here, where Breece is really gonna or that H back, that tight end, he's gonna be the one that goes through the hole for the lead block on the linebacker. But what Breece does, and you'll see it on the end zone view here, is
I'm just letting it play
that.
one more time.
Yep. Yeah. No. No problem. Yeah. I love that move on the safety there. He's tough to bring down as well. But you could see he's kind of reading, right. He's reading the center, because really the center on these outside zone or inside zone, or whatever zone run you might have, usually the running back and the center are kind of working together. At least that's how I've always kind of known it to be taught, in terms of, if the center can kind of get a reach around them, then you can go outside. But if that center is being kind of dragged to the outside, then you can cut it up off that center there. And Breece knows he has obviously the lead by the tight end coming across. So he just kind of patiently goes side to side. And then once that hole opens up where the tight end goes in it to get the linebacker, he's immediately jumping and he's right in there, and he makes a move on the safety. A safety coming down on Breece like that to try to arm tackle is just not going to get him down. He gets those extra yards there.
I wanted to throw I
Go ahead.
wanted to throw this out here because this is interesting. So somebody threw in the comments that Chris Sims, who he gets talked a lot about because of his ability to identify these quarterbacks pretty accurately. He said that Kenneth Walker was the best running back in the class ahead of Breece Hall. And Jets Carpetbagger says Kenneth Walker's good, but reasonable minds can disagree. Might be sixes between Walker and Hall, but I like Hall. Um, let's see here. There was another comment actually that I wanted to read. I missed it. Hold on one second. Michael N. He says Kenneth Walker is going to be a stud also, but Breece had a weaker O line and still balled out. Any thoughts on Kenneth Walker? Because he's being mentioned quite a bit in the comments.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kenneth Walker had a monster year over at
Michigan State.
Michigan
Yeah.
State. Yeah, he's it feels like a little bit more of a downhill type of power-ish back, if that's correct. I'm trying to remember back to kind of looking at him at Michigan State. But yeah, I would say I don't want to use the term more one dimensional, but I think Breece has more aspects overall to his game than potentially Kenneth Walker does. Now, that's not to say Kenneth Walker is like a bad running back or anything. When we did our running back rankings, I had Breece 1 and then Kenneth Walker 2. But I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, maybe, Chris Sims thinks that Kenneth Walker is the best in the class
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's got a lot of traits. But yeah, I would give the versatility, more dimensional type of player to Breece Hall there.
Yeah. And fun fact, and we'll let you go after this.
Mhm.
I found this out after the draft. He does have the Roger Craig bloodline. I believe he's like an
Hmm.
uncle to him, or not. I don't know what it is, but he is
Oh
definitely
wow.
related. And if you don't know who Roger Craig was, he was a multi-purpose, excellent running back in that West Coast offense with Joe
Hmm.
Montana. I don't want to say that he was the first, but he was certainly one of the first to have 1,000 on the ground and 1,000 receiving yards in the same season. So certainly has the bloodlines, no doubt about it. Go right back at it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I didn't know that connection there.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, bloodline's always good. That's for sure.
Yep.
Um, And yeah, so last play here from the Baylor game. And so this is another one of those just kind of patient runs. Now, I always like to try to find, when what hits the fan type of thing, right?
Uh-huh.
How do you respond? How do you make it work? Because listen, it's that you watch some of these college tapes, and and they play some of these, schools or athletes, or, and it's just not going to be that easy when you get to the next level. Sometimes things don't go right here. And so we have another pretty similar run here. Iowa State likes to get that H back or that tight end across the formation. And what ends up happening, Baylor's defense, their defensive line actually does a stunt, and it just completely throws off the left guard for Iowa State here, and he's kind of left in a little bit of a no man's land, and he winds
Mm-hmm.
up right in front of Breece Hall as he's trying to hit the hole, and Breece just kind of puts his hand right on his back. He stays patient, and then he lets that corner almost. Lack of a better term, he just kind of fills right in to where he thinks that Breece Hall is going to go. And once he does that, Breece Hall just hits it to the outside. So he flows in, and then Breece Hall immediately hits it to the outside. Now he doesn't score a touchdown here. He does have home run ability. I was like
Mm-hmm.
picking these plays, and I'm like, some people are going to think like, oh, he can't score from long ways away. He definitely can. But if you see it from here, the left guard for Iowa State, when that defensive tackle stunts, he kind of gets a little bit of, all right, what am I supposed to do? I'm
Yeah.
just going to look around for some help.
Yeah. His head was
Um,
on a swivel. He was just kind of looking for somebody to hit.
Yep. And then 13 there crashes in, and it leaves the outside wide open. But you could just see how patient Breece is when he gets to that line of scrimmage, and then he finds the hole, whether it's outside or inside, on those run plays. Now, the next game, and I mean, you could go back and you could probably YouTube like Breece Hall versus Baylor, and you'll see probably another like 15
Yeah.
really big plays. And I didn't include the touchdowns, but only because one of them was like a really short, like 1 yard run that was wide open, and then another one, his receiving touchdown. If I'm remembering correctly, I think the linebacker just kind of forgot, and then he was wide open on a wheel route, and Breece scored a touchdown. It was a great play by Breece, but it wasn't one where you were like, all right, I think maybe someone just kind of messed up here, and he was the benefactor. But ultimately, now the Oklahoma State game was interesting, and I was looking through it, and I wound up looking at his stats for this game, and they were not pretty because Oklahoma State just completely shuts down the run game. I think Breece was 21 carries for 70 yards,
Oh
but
wow.
like for me, that like I want to see that in a sense, and it's not to say like I want to see that down the stat line. Like if you go to his game logs, he had like 170-yard game, which happened to be this, and then he probably had more over 150, closer to 200 for the rest of the year. So it just so happened, but I like to see these because I need to know how this guy reacts when it's not going his way, right? Does he just say like, screw it, I'm just going to not, participate in the blocking game. I'm not going to participate in the passing game. Like, does he try to find some way to make his mark on a football game where Oklahoma State really just stacked the box, and it got to the point where Iowa State was just legitimately throwing quick screens outside, slants to the outside to try to free up that box so that they could try to make some kind of plays in the run game. But this was another one here where, listen, it didn't go well blocking wise, but Breece, he at least gets 7. Now, I'll take the slack for putting a 7-yard, 8-yard run on here. But ultimately, you'll see on the boundary side, that defensive end, he's basically just going to kind of ruin this entire play behind the line of scrimmage. And Breece just does what he does. He's got quick feet. He's got a little bit of a quick twitch despite his size. And then he actually eludes that defender. And then he's going to wind up actually making another move right there. So that's a play where at that point, the blocking scheme is kind of thrown out the window. Whatever they decided to do was no longer going to work. And now it's on Breece Hall to try to get some kind of yardage for his team there. He makes the one move, and then he makes the second move, and he's able to get 7 or 8 yards. Now that's going to be something where the Jets, it's not always going to be pretty. He's going to have to do something at some point in time. It's going to go bad. And yeah, he's going to have runs for a loss, but at least you have a guy back there that, at 220 pounds running a 4.4, he's got the feet to be able to elude guys at the line of scrimmage and the vision to get forward, get north, and have it done. So I really like this play here from Oklahoma State because there wasn't a whole lot in the run game, but he was doing everything that he possibly could to try to get yards for this offense in the biggest moments. And they actually won this football game,
I, I was
which
going to
was,
interject for just 2 seconds. I love the
yeah.
notion of the fact that he found a way to be productive in the football game, outside of the running game. Because you're right, that's going to happen in some games. Teams are just going to commit to stopping you, and it's
Mhm.
very important that a running back finds a way. Finds a way to be impactful if it's not on the ground.
Yep.
And one of the things that I talked about in my Breece Hall video from last weekend, he is the reason why the Jets were willing to trade up for him is because he can play all three downs. And he is I would say he's probably the
Mhm.
best, without having seen him do it in the NFL, he's probably the best pass protecting running back that we have on the roster right now. So that's a huge factor for him for sure,
Yep.
coming into the National Football League.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of new at like making, I've always like watched the games and stuff like that. I always just kind of kept it to myself, and I've like kind of recently more so been trying to find like my niche in like the evaluation aspect. And I really enjoyed the part of like it's okay if a guy doesn't have a game where he puts up Madden video game type of stats. Like it doesn't have to always be like that. And yep, you can see that little quick move there, and then he makes another one and he hits that hole there, and he's able to gain 8 off of basically a play that was destined to go nowhere from the very beginning. And this is a little bit later in the game. So this is like carry 15 of where he's just getting stifled at the line of scrimmage, 2 yards, 3 yards, nothing. And then here it's just all right. He's sticking at it. Iowa State was able to stay in the game, but just kind of quickly to go back to the other point, I like it when I see like, all right, he's got 21 for 70, and then I see this play, right? I see this play
Mm-hmm.
here where he doesn't get the ball. He doesn't get the ball. He is going to be a potential lead blocker. So now they're going to motion. Um, they're going to motion that wide receiver in the boundary at the bottom of the screen into a quads formation to the field. And then at the snap, that wide receiver is actually going to come across in another motion in front of the quarterback, and him and the quarterback are going to play essentially a read option. Either he's going to give it or the quarterback's going to keep it. And if he gives it, Breece is his lead blocker to the outside. And now that linebacker that Breece is essentially 5 or 6 yards away from, whatever he is right there. I mean, he's a good player. To be honest, I don't know his name, but just from watching the film, I was able to determine that he's a pretty good linebacker. And this wide receiver does not even get the football. The quarterback keeps it, but Breece doesn't know that, right? So he's got to keep playing hard, and he gives almost like a frustration, like that's for holding me to 70 yards type of block, right? Like but like this is a second half. They're in a close game. Breece hasn't been much of a factor. So like what else is he going to do to potentially affect the play? Now, if the quarterback gives this, that wide receiver is one-on-one with a corner at that point in time, and you like your chances, in that moment there. So, this is the same game here. But I just like the blocking ability, right? The effort. I kind of saved in my laptop there as effort block, right? He just at 100 miles an hour in a moment where he could have been frustrated, right? Given the way the game went. So really good on his part. And it's probably something the Jets saw when they're looking for these guys that, fit their new culture that they're looking to start with here.
Yeah, having a running back that can do everything, specifically one that you're going to go up and in the second round and draft,
Mhm.
they need to be able to do all of the things that are required: blocking, receiving, and running the football.
Yep.
Um, it's very very important that he's very good at those three things. He has to be able to do that and make an impact. I love the fact that you put a block in there. I think that's important to
Mhm.
see that he's willing to get his nose a little bit dirty.
No, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, no, he is. He's definitely willing. Yeah, like running back is a weird thing. Like not everyone's going to be the best like pass blocking technique wise. Like those guys are pretty rare, but you want to see them be able to give the effort, whether it's just like a chip block and you go out into the flat, right? Just something where you're taking up space and giving your quarterback that extra half a second to a second to get the ball out. So he
Hmm.
definitely does that for sure. And it's going to be a nice addition here. And this play here, I believe is a pass catch. If you run it really quick, John, just so, yeah, this is it. So this is this play again, same game, Oklahoma State. Now this is the final drive of the game, and Iowa State is down by 3 or 4. So they're down to this point. They need a touchdown to win, essentially. So it wasn't a field goal. They were down 4, I think. So they need a touchdown to win this game. I think there's like 6 minutes left. The way it's kind of going, they're not going to get many chances after that. So this here, receiving ability, Breece has hands in the receiving game. He is able to, find the open space, and then he's able to make an efficient catch with his hands and get upfield. And kind of what I like about this one here is just the feel of it. Right, he sees his
Yes.
quarterback at that point. He rolls out because he's kind of headed to the opposite side of where his quarterback is rolling out. Now, you always want to be in a position where if you see your quarterback rolling out, you want to get into a position that makes it efficient for him to be able to get you the football. And so when he looks back and he sees Brock, he sees Brock roll to the right and he's headed to the left. What he does is he just kind of sits and he stays upfield in the open spot, and Brock does a nice job getting him the football. And once he catches that, he's immediately upfield. This is a gain of about 37. And this puts them in the position to say, all right, now, he wasn't able to do it on the ground, but he just put us in the position near midfield and late in the fourth quarter to potentially go down the field to score a touchdown and win this game, which they ultimately do. But Breece was exceptional right there in terms of his ability. You could see that's a hands catch. He's not letting it in his chest.
Yeah.
He does a really good job with his hands. And listen, when he's in the open field, it's kind of difficult because he presents a lot of different ways to beat you. He's quick, he's strong, and he's also kind of got that long speed fast. So it's pretty interesting for him to have that package of ability.
Yeah, and I'll throw in that's not an easy catch at all. Like,
Mm-mm.
those instant, the quarterback's not that far away from him. It's not one of those scenarios where he can see the ball coming his way quick, with time and being able to adjust to the football. That's a very,
Right.
very instantaneous, bang bang kind of play. So it shows, the ability to,
Nice
react
move there.
quickly. And yeah, the moves are very, very impressive with Brees. All right.
And I think this is the last play. And listen, I'm a strong believer, and if you continue to work hard, you get rewarded. No matter maybe it's an end of a game. The hockey analogy, not to bring hockey in here, but um, a defenseman's working hard all game, and sometimes they don't get many points. They don't score. Most of them don't score many goals. But maybe at the end of the game, after all that hard work, they get that empty netter goal that kind of seals the victory. Right? That's the hard work pays off here. And so Breece gets the game-winning this touchdown and wins them the football game. And he does just an excellent job. Right? Again, it's not the best blocking right there. He kind of gets a little stifled, but he's patient, and then when the hole opens up, it's immediate that he hits that. He shrugs his shoulders there a little bit in the end
Yeah.
zone, but it's just the patience and then the ability to, when he sees the hole, he hits it immediately. That vision, right? It's great to have a running back that's 6 foot, 220 pounds, runs a 4.4, and could jump over 40 vertical. But if he reads blocks like he's Trent Richardson, it doesn't really mean a whole lot of it. And so, yeah. If he reads blocks like he's Trent Richardson, all of that goes to waste. And so it was really, really awesome to see Breece Hall have the ability to have the patience, hit the hole, be physical, get to the outside, just do a whole lot of different things, but also work hard when things aren't going very well for him. I thought that was probably my favorite part of that Oklahoma State game. Was it wasn't the highlight reel that you're going to see on YouTube, but he
I
got the
think
job done at
people
the end of the day.
I just wanted to say, I think people want to see kind of the
Mhm.
antithesis, the opposite of a YouTube highlight reel, which is,
Right.
long runs where it's like there's no, no need for him to really do a whole lot on the football field. So seeing the specifics that you pointed out, really, really appreciate that. And
Yep.
thank you very much, James. I think, again, a lot of people really enjoy the breakdowns. So I appreciate you doing that for us again, as you always do.
Yeah. No.
Philly
Absolutely.
Sports Talk is checking in. He says, "What's good? What's going on?" Uh, Mr. Mead, I'll just call you that because I don't want to butcher your first name. We guess it would be Jossie. He says, Elijah Moore is team MVP. I like that a lot.
Cool.
And then Tyler Snyder throws in a quick comment. He says, Braxton's going to have 2 touchdowns on special teams, and he's going to average 28 yards per return. That would have to be kick returns, because if he's averaging 28 yards on punt returns, holy crap. And then he's going to throw in another 600 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. If Braxton Berrios does that, whoa, that would be
Yeah. That's
massive.
it.
And even if it was, even if you wiped out the, excuse me, even if you wipe out his receiving threat, receiving production,
Mhm.
that return threat alone makes him worth the contract that they gave him. Um, sorry, I should have choked to death for a few seconds. Let me give you another topic so I can finish my choking session here. And we're going to wrap up the show here in the next 20 minutes or so, guys. But I want to talk a little bit about offensive identity. What do you think the Jets' offensive identity? We can talk about both. We can talk about offense and we can talk about the defensive identity all in the same segment. What do you envision? What are the play calls going to be like? Hey, I pronounced it right. Let's go. Thank you. What are you expecting as far as play calling and personnel groupings and just overall vibe? Because I feel like for a long time, the Jets have not had an identity offensively, and you could even throw in defensively as well. Part of being a good team, I think, really does involve you having something that you really hang your hat on, and you just say, "We are going to be good at this," and you try and
Mhm.
stop us doing it. So, what do you think the identity is offensively and defensively for the 2022 New York Jets?
Offensively, it has to be running the football. I should say have to, but it should be running the football in terms of what I think that they want to do, right? But it's got to be being able to run the football out of any type of personnel that you want to be in. Last year, they could not run the football in 11 personnel. It just wasn't. It wasn't working, right? And that when you're planning defensively and you say, okay, we got one, we got one back, we got one tight end, and we got 3 wide receivers out here. There's a 70% chance they're about to throw the football. That is a massive disadvantage for the offense to be in that type of situation. So the identity is going to be running the football, but it's got to be able to be not just 12 personnel and 21 personnel. They have to be able to run it out of 11 as well. The passing game, it's got to work off of it. I mean, I think ultimately they'll have the ability to spread things out a little bit. We did see how much Mike LaFleur likes to use those condensed splits. In terms of having a guy right, wide receiver right on the numbers or right in between the numbers. Not so much kind of the guys spread out, but like I just finished rewatching the Panthers game. I'm going back through every single one and I'm
Hmm.
actually charting them in terms of like I just finished literally on an index card drawing out every single play.
You're such a nerd,
And
but I love it.
yeah, I know. I got my wife's like, "What are you going to do with all these index cards?" I'm like, "Well, for now, I need to like just look at them." But that was probably to me like the game where we got an indication of just what they wanted to do. It was just the fact that they ultimately ended up realizing they didn't have the personnel to do it. They were in so much 12 personnel, so much 21 personnel. The tight ends were god awful. I mean, I made a tweet about it pretty recently. I think you saw it, and I was just like, if these guys could just even be, get in the way, they may have had more success in the run game. And so, I think ultimately that offensive identity, they're going to try to get back to that. They're going to try to pound the rock. But the caveat has to be that they need to be able to run it out of 11 personnel anyway. And then I think they've let Zach, not that they let him loose, but I could see passing game being more downfield than maybe we've let it on to think when we see the 49ers or something like that, right? When they kind of restrict Jimmy G from throwing it deep a little bit. I think when the passing plays come, I think they'll give more downfield ability for Zach, given his arm, and Elijah Moore, and kind of the fact that they picked Garrett Wilson at 10th overall as well. So offensive identity is going to be interesting, but I think it all starts in the run game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I'll throw, you had mentioned a little bit of it, the ability to run multiple personnel groupings and be able to do, be able to run the football out of all of those different groupings. And I remember there was some ridiculous stat, and I can't remember what it was, but it was when we were under Adam Gase, under his, control. There was some ridiculous stat where if we were in it was like a 3 wide receiver set, or I don't know what it was, but it was like some ungodly analytic number. Like it was like so painfully obvious that we were going to, run a specific type of play. And I think it was a, it was running out of a 3 wide receiver set or something like that. And, you got to avoid being so predictable. And I think that's going to be my offensive identity for the Jets, or my hope is that they are very, very multiple and versatile in how they attack defenses. You mentioned the running game and you mentioned the deep passing game. I hope they attack the defense all over the football field. And I hope that's the identity. And when you talk about running the football, that's like the foundation for, a lot of offenses in the National Football League, because it builds everything you're trying to do, attacking them deep down the football field and also building off your play action game. And I think that's another one of those things where I feel like we saw a lot of play action last season. Yeah. Imagine if we get imagine if we get the running game really turned up. We're going to see more play action. They're going to run it even more with an effective running game to complement it. So, I just hope that we are able to control the line of scrimmage, because that's what's going to determine our success. As good as Michael Carter is, and as good as Breece Hall, we think he's going to be, they need running lanes, and we have to be able to open those running lanes. So ultimately, that's what I think the identity will be, is hopefully being multiple and building off of a very, very strong running game. And I kind of agree, Thomas Cahill, we do need another piece in the mix here. But tackle is one of those, it's very, very hard, especially at this point in the offseason, to find anybody of any value. It's not impossible, but that's a hard one. To find somebody, like I said, at this point in the offseason, it would be very, very fortunate for the Jets if they were able to not only have someone come available, but also be able to land them. Because everybody's looking for offensive tackle help and offensive line help. It's a very, very difficult position group to have true depth, across the board. So that's where I'll leave it. I think that, we got to hope, Mitchell, not Mitchell Schwartz. Geez. The kid that we drafted, what the hell is his last name? Mitchell. Yeah, no, Mitchell. Max Mitchell.
Max Mitchell. Yeah.
Sorry. I saw Schwartz in the comments and then it really screwed in my head, but, yeah, Max Mitchell, and we got to hope that Edoga, I'm not counting I'm not counting on that necessarily, but we have to hope that in the event of an injury, these guys can at least be adequate. So, all right. And then defensively, I think it's pretty obvious. I've talked a lot about it. I think it's going to be sticky man coverage on the outside, and they are going to simply play 4-man rush. They're going to play it a lot. What are your thoughts on defensive identity for the New York Jets?
Yep. Get after the quarterback. And I do think we're going to see a lot more man coverage. I'm going with it. I know we're accustomed to, we just think it's a cover 3 zone because it's Robert Saleh and what they, used to do. I just think, they, obviously we saw it in third down. I feel like I've kind of said that probably way too many times to this point, but third down was always man coverage. They want guys that can stop man to man. Because when you think about it too, a man to man on those third down type of situations, if you can get a guy like Sauce, obviously, and they have him now, but
Can you
if he's,
believe he's a Jet? Can you even
yeah,
believe
it's
that?
so weird, right?
It doesn't seem.
I didn't think it was going to happen. I was just kind of like,
Me either.
I was like, they're not going to really do this, but I could probably talk myself into thinking they will. And I just think when you have a guy like him, right? Like if you just think about timing wise, just like think about time. And, if you got a guy that can play press man coverage on a wide receiver and they have some kind of elaborate, passing type of route going on or, route combination going on. And, you got Sauce there that's disrupting that guy at the line of scrimmage. It throws off the timing of entire, the route itself. And that, what does that do? It gives more time for the guys up front to potentially get to the quarterback or at least affect the quarterback. And so, on those situations where you got to get off the field, the Jets didn't get off the field last year, but I think now they have the personnel where they say maybe we play a little bit more man coverage, even on second or maybe first down, whatever it might be, and ultimately get out after the quarterback. And you're going to obviously play zone every so often, but you could also do zone and man kind of within the same play based on the formation the offense has. So I think we'll see a lot of multiple aspects of zone and man, but I think we're going to see a lot more man coverage this year.
Good stuff. And I'll throw in one more thing defensively, and it's not it's not like a revelation to be saying this, but I really think the Jets, even more so than last year, they really, really want to rotate their defensive line. And I think Vinny Curry is a part of that rotation. I think that, he's still on the roster. Sheldon Rankins, I still think figures to get a lot of playing time if he's still on the roster. I would love to see Jonathan Marshall get some playing time. I think that Jonathan Franklin Myers is up for some, a really big year. Actually, that's going to be one of my things that we'll talk about in here in a second. So rotating that defensive line is going to be a continued theme and identity for this defense. It's going to be a committee approach, if you will, if you want to call it that. All right. We're going to our last topic. And Grant, you're completely right. There are so many teams that get screwed over if their starting offensive tackles go down. It's not just the New York Jets. Like a lot of teams really hurt when their two tackles or one of their tackles goes down. It's a big injury to have on your team. Okay, last topic of the night, guys, is going to be 2022 Jets awards, and I have to give full credit. I am always transparent with you guys. I stole this off of Twitter. And it was from the Jets Talk 24/7. I'm sorry, not Jets Talk 24/7. The Jets Talk radio channel. And I'm trying to get them onto the show this summer. I talked to Tyson from Jets. Let's Talk Jets Radio, and he seems to be willing to do it. So he'll be coming on at some point over the summer. Really looking forward to that. They were one of the channels that I watched the most prior to doing what I do now with creating some content. So love what they do. And looking forward to it. But again, full credit to him because I am just literally stealing the topic. There are 6 different awards, and we're going to give them away right now. We'll go one by one here. And guys, you throw them in the comments along with us, and I will read them. So the first one is, which player, after the season's over, we go into it and they're just like, man, they were a really good player and not enough people are talking about. Most underrated player at the end of the 2022 season. Who could that be? I have one in mind, but who do you got?
Oh, I'm up. Sorry.
No, it's up. You want me to go first?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of curious because I don't know if my awards suck, but I'm kind of curious what you hear, what you say.
I'll go first. I think I've talked about it before. Ooh, my camera. What the hell? Can you hear me? Oh my God.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wow, what happened? Let's try this again. Hold on a second.
Your screen.
There I am. Hey guys. Yeah, that was weird. My phone decided to just stop using my app. All right. There you go. That's a first. Back to what I was saying. Corey Davis. I've mentioned him quite a bit, and I think Corey Davis he's not Garrett Wilson and he's not Elijah Moore. And those are the two guys that we're all so excited about, and rightfully so. I think Corey Davis, still early in the season and down the stretch, I think he is clearly still the veteran of the group. I think he's going to be involved a lot, and I think that he's going to have a bounce back season. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be a massive producer for the New York Jets, but I just feel like for him specifically, he's underrated right now, and I think that the production that we get out of him and the consistency is going to be there. So he's my answer for most underrated for 2022.
I have DJ Reed on there, and I feel like reason being is and I think we probably, or maybe the entire NFL, underrated him going into the free agency part. But then you throw in the fact that the Jets take Sauce at fourth overall, right? And then all of a sudden the conversation turns to, well, how are we going to fit in? How are we going to fit in Breece Hall? Like, this whole conversation is surrounding the cornerback room, given the addition of Sauce and what we're going to do with Breece Hall. And I just think, in a sense, we may just be looking at it at the end, and all eyes are on Sauce for the entire year, because we want to see what he can actually be, how elite, how good can he be. And we kind of just, Michael Nania writes the article in week 14 of how good DJ Reed has actually been, and it's kind of went underneath our nose. So I think DJ Reed, for me, is going to be that underrated player, just because maybe deserves a little bit more attention than we're giving him.
Yeah, he certainly does deserve it. James stole my part of my answer, apparently. Hennessy Heisman, he says, if the running game works like it does in San Fran, Zach won't be asked to do much. Now we have to have hope that he can do the simple things right. Struggle with that last season. That's a fair assessment for sure. No doubt. Reed and Whitehead are going to be so dirty. That might be our strength right now, is our secondary, even ahead of the deep defensive line that we have. I would even go as far as to say that we have a really, really deep secondary minus the safety position. So I guess that kind of puts a little bit of a black eye on the position group as a whole, but I like our secondary quite a bit. All right. We'll save best player or MVP for last. Key new addition. The Jets have added a number of players through the draft, through free agency. Who's the player that's just going to be the best addition of the 2022 offseason?
Tyler Conklin's going to be, and I am basing my answer based off of what I was going to pick. I was going to pick all three tight ends and just give the award to all three of them, just simply because of so far, kind of, going back and what I've seen from what our tight end group gave effort wise last year, just completely unacceptable, not good, non-existent, not good enough. Completely destroyed certain plays that had ability. Yeah, it could be DJ Reed again, but Tyler Conklin. It's got to go to one of these tight ends, because I think it is such a massive upgrade from what we've had. And you want to talk about an offense that wants to use them. And some of these plays run through them and requires them to play to a certain level. I think they have the potential to just overall just change the way we look at this offense. So I'm going to pick Tyler Conklin, because I like the way he plays, kind of the violent, big, strong, not afraid to get his nose, his nose in the fire there. So I'm going to pick Conklin, but realistically, I think it's all the tight end upgrades there.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, there is a tight end video on the channel. I am so excited about our tight end room. And it doesn't feel like one of those ones where we're going to look back and be like, geez, we really overrated these guys. Like, as a whole, I think there's a lot of talent, and they all three can contribute in the run blocking game. So I'm very, very excited about the tight ends. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Laken Tomlinson's the best key addition to the offense, or the team in general. I think he's going to be a leader on the offensive line. I think he is perfect, as far as having experience already in this scheme. So he's kind of a plug and play right away kind of guy. You don't really have to worry about injury. I mean, of course, could he get injured? Anybody can get hurt. But I think just the Laken Tomlinson signing was massive. And so to me, that's going to be the best key addition because it's going to help to unlock the running game. It's going to help to get Zach Wilson that pocket to be able to throw from. So for me, that's the answer. But obviously you could go in a million different directions. For picking these guys. We're basically just crap shooting right now. We're not really expecting any of these to be 100% accurate. So uh,
Sure.
I see that pick of John and his love, and I can't help but think he upgraded. I don't know what that means, Stephen Engel. I guess because I had hair. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you're saying. All right. Could surprise a player that could surprise us this season. I've got my guy. I'll go first this time, and I mentioned it earlier. I think Jonathan Franklin Myers could surprise people. I know people were disappointed after he signed the contract. The sack production wasn't there. I think if you pay attention to analytics and if you are a Jets X Factor, follower, they talk a lot about, or you guys talk a lot about, you know, his effectiveness in rushing the passer on the edge. It was good. It was solid. It was nothing like otherworldly. When he plays on the inside, though, it's actually a different story. He is a very effective interior pass rusher, better than you think, I would say, to most people. And JFM, I think, is going to get more opportunities. I think he's still going to get his looks on the edge every once in a while, and I think he should. But I would like to see him playing more on the inside than not. And it's because of his ability to wreak havoc on the inside. He's fast, he's got long arms, he's strong. I want to see him on the inside just absolutely destroying alongside all of the other guys that we have. I think he could surprise people a lot this season. Who's your guy, James?
And quick point on that. When Saleh came out and said, he kind of talked about John Franklin Myers' ability to win inside, how good he is at winning on the inside. There was like a collective cheer among like the Jets X Factor guys because they were like, yeah, he's totally right. I mean, he does have that ability inside to just win. And so it's pretty cool to see Saleh acknowledge that as well. It kind of reaffirmed, I guess, what a lot of other people saw as well. And I'm going to go controversial on this one, and my surprise here was Denzel Mims.
Good.
And it's not a surprise to where like I'm saying the guy's going to have like 800, 900 yards receiving, but I had this conversation with a really good buddy of mine, and you'll meet him on opening day. He was best man at my wedding, great dude,
Awesome.
huge Jeff fan. And I asked him the other day, and I was just like, what would happen? Like, or can you imagine like if Denzel Mims like just even gets like close to what he was or what we thought he could have been after his rookie year, right? Like I went back to the film his rookie year. I was impressed. I thought he would going into that sophomore year. I was like, listen, now with Zach Wilson and now with these other guys, I was like, Denzel Mims is going to be the one to take the step. And like, it was a complete opposite to the point where it was weird. He had like a ton of penalties. Like, it just didn't seem like he was there altogether. In terms of, I mean, those kind of penalties, a lot of those are mental penalties. I don't know if something was going on. We don't know him. Like personally, maybe he just had, something going on. These guys aren't robots.
Yes.
But it just seemed like someone just turned the switch off after his rookie year. And I asked my buddy, I was like, even if as the fifth wide receiver, right, you have Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Braxton Berrios for like the gadget type stuff, the slot type of stuff. But I was like, if Denzel Mims can be what we potentially thought he could have been, or even just contribute like he did his rookie year as a fifth wide receiver on the roster,
Yes.
that is a massive contribution. And it doesn't have to be 700 yards, but if it's 400 and
Yes.
as a fifth wide receiver, I mean, I think that takes that surprises all of us because of how he played last year. And I think it would be awesome to see that from Denzel Mims, just to take that one step and just say, you know what, you guys counted me out, but here I am. So I'm going to go with Denzel Mims.
I love the answer. And so people are going to look at like what you said, like the 400 yards or even potentially just a little bit less. I want him to be efficient with his opportunities.
Yeah.
That's really what you're hoping for. And the production does not have to be massive. As you said, he is wide receiver 5 right now, maybe 4 at
Mhm.
best case scenario. Um, yeah, if he is effective with the looks that he gets, that would be huge for this team. It would be huge for the depth of the wide receiver room, of course. I hope he can surprise, man, because I mean, he has caught so much flack, and there are so many
Mhm.
people that are weirdos online, and like, I see all kinds of, disgusting things being said by people, and people were talking about some really not nice things about Denzel Mims during the season. I hope he can rebound, man. And it was Jets fans too. That's the worst part is like when our own fan base gets
I know.
nasty with our own players. It's really unfortunate. And I hope because again he's still a kid. He's so young. He's like
I
what
know.
24 years old, something like that. So
Oh yeah.
I hope he can flip the script, man, and just be effective with the looks that he gets. We do have a super chat from Thomas Cahill, and I do think that he's going to be involved more than maybe even I thought about at the beginning of the off season. He's saying that he believes that Vinny Curry is going to tear it up. Um, Listen, man, he talked in his press conference as well, and he had to pause a lot of times. Like it means the world to him that he's back and able to be able to physically play the game that he clearly loves. And not being able to play football, he talked about how he always knew that he loved the game and that he would miss it if it weren't there. But like even more so, having it taken away from him,
Hmm.
he's hungry. And I agree, Thomas. He wants to play well, of course, but he just wants to be on that football field, and that matters. That motivating factor, having it taken away from you and then getting it back. I think it means quite a bit. One more thing, because I saw it in the comments from Stephen Engel. He's saying that Jake Asman, who we've had on the show before, he's adamant that Jacob Martin, the defensive end that we got from the Houston Texans, is going to surprise people this season. And spoiler alert, I have a video I'm going to make this weekend. And yeah, there's the dude right there. I didn't
Cool.
make this during the show. Like, he's going to be one of the videos I'll talk about, Mr. Jacob Martin. I did some research on him myself. I feel like, amongst many other players, he could definitely surprise some people.
Hmm.
All right, we got a couple more here. We'll go a little faster. Taking a leap, it's kind of similar to the surprise, but I guess just a player that maybe nobody's talking about that could, take that next step. So it could be a Zach Wilson. That's obviously going to be a popular choice for, taking that leap, but it could be a number of guys. So who do you have taking a leap in 2022?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a guy that is well known, but and we've talked about him today. Um, I actually put Quinnen Williams down, and that's I guess more so elite, meaning good to really really good. I think that leap happens for him this year, and I think it happens second year of the system, some more depth around him, another year older, getting a little bit stronger, filling out that body a little bit. I think people do forget, and it was a good point that you made earlier, John. Um, he was the third overall pick, so everyone expected him to be Aaron Donald from week one of his rookie year, and that's just unrealistic, not going to happen. And so I picked Quinnen Williams ultimately just because I think he winds up being the guy that everyone wanted us to pick third overall. Dominant in the interior with quarterback pressures, sack numbers, and also improves in stopping the run to help this team in the run defense. So I'm going to go with Quinnen Williams, but more so the leap from good to really, really good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick his brother.
Wow,
uh,
cool. There you go.
so taking a leap, and again, not like suggesting Pro Bowl season here for Quincy Williams, the linebacker who is the brother to Quinnen Williams. I feel like he's had a year now under this coaching staff, and he talked about it. Having C.J. Mosley there with him, he now feels like he can be a leader on this defense. And if he's been studying, which I think that's really the big thing with Quincy is, are you studying? Are you learning how to read and react on the football field? Because if he's doing that, if he gets the mind right, the mental aspect of playing linebacker down, he has a ton of potential. And I think the Jets really like him. That's It's a dice
Mhm.
roll. I still think it's a dice roll to go into the year with him being the clear number 2 linebacker, but if they feel like he is that guy, and they clearly like him a lot, right? Because they would have made a move for another linebacker. So
Right.
I'm saying, just on the premise that the Jets have kind of ignored the linebacker position and they are standing with this guy. They feel very confident in his ability to be able to make plays. And in the playing time that he got last year, who else made, more plays, big plays specifically, because he had his issues as well. But he made a lot of
Mhm.
big plays on defense. He made big hits. I remember the one-on-one tackle that he had on Derrick Henry. Like, he can lay the wood. This guy's a very, very firm hitter. So I got Quincy Williams taking a leap for us in year 2. I hope that's the case. All right, we got 2 more. Make or break year. Who is the guy? If he stinks this year, he's definitely getting cut. And then if he's able to, improve, probably going to stay on the roster. Who I'll go first this time. Sorry, because you went first last time. I'm going to go ahead and say, excuse me. I'm going to say Ashton Davis. I
Mhm.
think that he's even on the bubble right now with the number of guys that we have. I think if he has a poor offseason, there could be a chance that they move on already from him. So Ashton Davis is my make or break. He's got to, with the opportunities that he gets, whether it's special teams or on defense, I think he needs to contribute. He doesn't have to be a starter, but he needs to be a solid player on this team. Who's your make or break guy? Shepard's a great one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I thought his make or break was last year.
Yeah, I did too.
uh, but he signed back for cheap. But I'm actually gonna go with Connor McGovern.
Ooh.
Um, and the reason I went make or break is he's obviously a free agent next year, right? But I feel like I'm getting more and more in the groove of not potentially creating holes if you don't have one. And let's just say that offensive line, those 5 guys, they work out, and we have a dominant top 12 offensive line. Right, Connor McGovern's a little bit older. Is he going to request, the bag? Is he going to want to break the bank? It probably won't get it. So the Jets might be able to re-sign him on a relatively team-friendly deal. And if you can bring back the exact same 5 guys for Zach's third year in the NFL with the running game and the same, personnel, the whole thing, I feel like it would be pretty interesting if they can re-sign Connor McGovern if he has a really good year as a part of this offensive line. And if he doesn't, well, we got to find a new center. He'll walk as a free agent, and that'll be that.
That's a great answer, actually. Because you're right. If they have a really good year, effective year blocking and getting the running game going, he's probably not going to need. He's not going to be. He's not going to cost as much as we're paying him this year. I think they could get him back cheaper.
Right.
He's not. He's not dirt old. We bring him back. I mean, definitely.
Mhm.
I think that's definitely an option, and definitely, not out of the realm of possibilities. Facebook friend here, go Jets and go Jet up. All right, Idogo's thrown into the comments. I saw a couple other people agreeing with me that Ashton Davis. I saw CJ Mosley as well. He might even be gone, even if he's productive. Because of the
Yeah.
the cap hit. The cap hit is massive for him, and we save so much money. Grant Root throws in Michael P. Ryan. He's definitely in the conversation. I think he's gone. I don't think that P. Ryan sticks. I think he's going to be out of the picture.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, because I'll make a video later on about what I predict the 53-man roster to look like. Panak is an interesting dude, and apparently he was getting reps as a starter in OTAs, which is really good for him, man. That's just super cool. All right, the final one, MVP. I've got a hot take with this one. I'm gonna let you go first, though. Who is your 2022 New York Jets team MVP? It is the month of May, people, and we're throwing out these juicy takes for you. What do you got?
Yeah, my 2022 team MVP is CJ Mosley. Until further notice with this guy, it's a situation where he is the general on the defensive side of the football. He's going to make everything work. He's going to call the plays. He's going to make sure guys are in the right spots. He's going to make plays when he has to make plays. He's the veteran back there, and life. I'm trying to right now imagine if something were to happen to CJ Mosley, God forbid, pray to God.
I'm with you.
Nothing happens to him, but if something does, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to miss not just the veteran leadership, the presence on the field, the communication aspect, but the playmaking aspect as well. And it could wind up being a situation where one position literally just caters or craters, or however I think I'm saying that right, craters the entire defensive performance that the Jets could potentially have. And then we're looking at, hopefully we get new linebackers so we can play better in 2023 and that whole conversation that we hope we don't have to have. And so for me, until further notice, it's number 57 in the middle of that defense for us.
All right, there you go. I said, on Twitter recently that he was still one of the best players on the team. And people, very adamant that he's not all that great. A lot of Ravens fans were hitting me with that one, that he's not very good. I don't know. We'll see. He's got to prove it on the football field, but I think he was one of the best teams on a bad team last year, and I think he will benefit from having better players around him. Okay. MVP, crazy Carl Lawson. That's definitely a popular one. I hope so. I really, really hope so, because if he's team MVP, that means he is easily a 10+ sack guy, and he's a terror on the edge. God, I hope that's the case. Elijah Moore was a popular one as well. I'm going to throw it out there, man. I said it in a recent video. I think Elijah Vera Tucker could be the best player on the Jets team in 2022. Now, is it likely that he's the team MVP? Probably not going to get that honor. But I think as far as like being the legitimate best player, I think that Elijah Vera Tucker could have been my take a leap guy. He could have been my could surprise guy. And I just think that, he is up for a potentially really big season. And, the beginning of the season was a little rough, like the first couple of games, but then he was rock solid thereafter as a rookie. And listen, man, you're right. He's not going to win team MVP, but I'm just talking in terms of, being the best player on this team. I think he's got a shot. I really, really do. Like this team MVP. And again, if we were doing a comeback player of the year, I would definitely put Becton even ahead of Carl Lawson. I think Becton is up for a big time season, and people are still very, very hateful to this man. Even on the day, where he had his first child, and congrats to Mekhi Becton, by the way. He is now a father.
Yeah.
Just totally nasty, comments in that tweet that he's a dad now. I think he is so angry, and I think that he is so motivated. I think he's going to have a really big season. So, the fact that you think that as well, Grant, I think it's massive. I think he's going to be on the right side, and I think he's just going to absolutely destroy. It's going to be AVT and him on the right side, I think, and they are going to destroy. Ooh, football over the firstborn. I think you're just joking. I hope you are. No freaking way, man. Football is secondary to family. I know we all want these guys to be robotic and only do football, but family always is ahead. All right. That is the conclusion. I hope you're right, Dwayne. Breece Hall JT 2.0. Let's go, I say. Any last comment you want to make, James, before we wrap up this episode of the live stream show?
No, this was a fun episode. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be kind of slow treading here for maybe a little while until we get to training camp, probably. We'll have the OTA conversations, but as we know from last OTAs, nothing really turned out to be the same-ish in terms of how guys were played and stuff. So OTAs are fun. It's going to be cool, but I'm pretty excited for training camp to start as we get through the summer here. And I don't know, September's a lot closer than we think.
Yeah. the summer will go quick, which is not what I want to say because I'm a teacher and I
Right.
want all of my summers to last forever.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Michael, and really appreciate that. This was a lot of fun tonight. I
Yep.
every once in a while I'll come into an episode and I'm like, great, what are we going to talk about the whole time? And we didn't have any lulls tonight. It was and a lot of thanks to you guys. I mean, truly, I mean that.
Yeah.
You guys throw in some really interesting takes and lots of interesting questions as well. So you kept the conversation moving and grooving. So thank you very, very much for watching. The last thing I'll say is that my wife doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to make her come on to the Sunday call-in show. So not only will she be talking Jets, she'll be appearing on the show side by side, husband and wife going at it
Nice.
at each other. Not in the way that you're thinking. We're going to go at it, talking Jets. So anyway, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for content this weekend. Go Jets.
Yep.
And we will see you guys next time. Peace, y'all. Word from my dog.